to the Coffee Club, broadcasting live from New York. Welcome to the Coffee Club and broadcasting live from New York. So let's have a cup of coffee and enjoy the show. So let's have a cup of coffee and enjoy the show.
There is no heaven. There is no hell. There is only this world and its dark reflection. And we do not know in which of the two worlds we are.
Live, I said live, from New York. It is the Coffee Club with your hosts, Felix, and your co-host,
Dr. Mark.
And we are here tonight
to discuss
and gripe
about absolutely everything.
Or nothing. First thing is my phone. Our phone number is 646-595-3275.
And before you go any further, I would like to add, we got to hear from you folks. This is terrible. And that's part of what's wrong with this show.
No, I don't agree with you, Mark. I think we try to please too many people and we vary too much from our topics. And our audience goes up like a yo-yo with it. And we're trying to, this show is geared to trying to narrow it down to see what our audience would like to hear from us, and to that purpose, we'd like you to send emails, and we put it on our broadcast. We want your email to whatwewant@ccradionetwork.com. That's whatwewant@ccradionetwork.com. And later on, we're going to read some of the comments from the people who wrote to us. Okay, but because this has been up for a few days and we've had a few people write in on what they're interested in. Okay, so that's our idea for tonight. First, we're going to cover the news. They haven't found the airplane.
And they only have until the end of this weekend.
No, that's the news. They haven't found it. That's it.
Well, you're right.
People got killed in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria.
Well,
that topic.
Well, no, the photojournalist and another journalist
in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan were the photojournalist was killed, and the other reporter was seriously injured. And once again, it was, you hate to say this, it was an Afghan police officer who, for some reason, just shot them in the car. That really has become where most of the casualties have been. The month of March is the first month in a long time where no Americans were killed in combat or anything else. But prior to that,
that's wrong.
I'm only telling you what they said on the news.
No, you said no military were killed in combat or anywhere else. There were 3 people just killed in the United States, 3 soldiers.
I'm talking about Afghanistan.
No, you said, but you didn't specify. You said
I said in combat or anywhere else, meaning in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yes, we had another shooter who, for whatever reason, went berserk and killed 3 people, wounded about 13 others.
Killed himself.
Nobody understands why he did it. He supposedly was under treatment, they believe, for PTSD, but they say that it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly whether the person has it just after a couple of sessions. This is something that comes out over months of therapy.
Well, the Army came out with a report today. Number one, they specified that he was in a fight just before he went
Right.
with some other soldiers, and the other thing they said was they really can't link him to any kind of a mental disease and any reason for a shooting. They're trying to pull away from that whole idea.
Well, because more and more soldiers are turning up with PTSD. You know, that's become, like in World War II, it was battle fatigue. Okay, well, in Afghanistan and Iraq, it's PTSD. It's all post-traumatic.
150,000 soldiers have been reported having it.
Why is it that something along the lines of 19,000 veterans kill themselves every year?
Yeah.
Must be a reason for it.
Yeah. There's a reason for it, and
Well, the government is never going to fess up and say that partially they're to blame, okay, because they're not affording these veterans the services that they rightly deserve. They get orders to go and fight for 2, 3, or 4 tours of duty, and when they come back, the government says, "Okay, fellas, you're on your own."
yeah. And when you think about it, we're the only idiots that are doing this. You look at the rest of the, I guess, how would you call them? Not third world countries, but what would we be considered? What kind of world? If it's not third world, what are we?
I don't know.
I don't know. I know what third world is, but we must be something. The European Union, the rich countries, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Russians. There are no soldiers getting killed in any of those armies. When was the last time you heard of anybody in Europe get killed? Not for a while.
Well, in Russia, I know, the economy is so poor. Basically, private business is so poor, that people are happy to be in the service because as long as they're in the service, it's a fairly decent paying occupation for them. They are in no conflict, really, except for the Ukraine, and all they're doing is occupying,
When was the last time we heard a Russian soldier getting killed? A Japanese soldier getting killed? Chinese soldier getting killed?
Oh, I agree. I agree.
We just die all over the place,
Yeah, even here.
Yeah, it's you don't hear that from other countries because they don't have that problem. Now we can't include third world countries because they're killing themselves all the time. There's no rhyme or reason as to who gets killed.
Well, if you're talking about a third world country like Somalia, they have warlords there. Everybody there's so much intra-fighting amongst themselves.
Well, there's no government.
Exactly, there is no government.
And there are a lot of dictatorships all over the world. There are still some communist countries, even though communist countries don't seem to be very violent or much of a problem anymore.
No, pretty much you can travel almost anywhere you want, I believe.
When did the last time you heard of a Cuban soldier getting killed?
Well, we don't hear very much from Cuba.
Yeah, but they're not going out there fighting anywhere for anybody.
No, if they were doing anything, they'd be fighting us.
Yeah.
They want to occupy Miami or South Beach, little Cuba down in Florida.
And little Cuba wants to occupy them, so. But they're as I said, when you think about where else, Vietnam, you don't hear anything about Vietnam. Is it still communist?
Oh, sure they are. But the bottom line is they very much welcome American trade, American tourists. Yeah, heck,
What makes
Vietnam War veterans are going back to places where they fought.
Yeah. Cambodia, I think they're back under a kingdom.
Well,
I don't remember, but
I've heard the scenery, the landscape is beautiful, but I mean, you go back to Vietnam or Cambodia, they still have the remnants of the Vietnam War, tanks or planes that were shot down, they went down in rice paddies and they're still there. They haven't moved them.
What are they going to do with them?
Well, it's true.
The monuments.
Well, since they won the war, you're 100% right.
Well, tell me what wars we won.
Imperialism,
What wars have the imperialists won since World War II?
That's about it, because Korea was a stalemate. We sort of got out. Vietnam was, they say it was a stalemate, but as soon as we pulled out, it went communist, so you can't even count. That's a loss.
We ran out of there
Okay, I mean, Iraq and Afghanistan, same thing. I mean, Iraq is already starting to turn back the way it was. It's not safe. Places in Afghanistan that are supposed to be safe, like Kabul, you had suicide bombings and everything, so that's not really safe anymore.
And when we're going to pull out, we haven't achieved any victory.
No,
we haven't achieved basically any victories, except maybe Belize. What was it? What did we talk? Belize or one of those countries? Grenada.
Grenada was the last time we went in before that. Yeah, under Reagan.
No, Grenada's the only place that we.
And what we did was we rescued the medical students. That was about it from the medical school, because it used to be a haven for American students because they taught in English.
But it's back to that way now. Grenada is back to being a safe country.
Yeah,
that's the only one we've actually won. We got the Cubans out of there. We in quotes freed that country, whatever that means. But that's it. And who gives a hoot about Grenada?
Who's going to free us from the Republicans? That's what I want to know.
Yep.
And especially with the upcoming elections in November, they're talking about the Democrats may wind up losing the Senate, and if that's the case, absolutely nothing will get done, because they'll have the majority in the House, they'll have the majority in the Senate, and all they're going to do is make life miserable for Obama and anybody else who's a Democrat or a progressive who's hoping to get certain things done.
Well, what they're going to get done is have Obama's going to be doing a lot of vetoing, I guess.
Well, that's one thing the president has, the power of the veto. They could look to pass things and he can say no. But they need, I believe, 2/3 to override the veto, don't they? Well, 2/3 is 67 votes.
They're not going to see that.
The Republicans? I don't know. Republicans always vote in a block. Democrats never vote in a block. That's the thing. Democrats tend to vote their conscience and their constituents depending upon what the topic is. Okay, just like you see many Democrats in what they call purple states now, who they're not exactly running away from the Affordable Care Act, but they're saying, well, maybe you can tweak it and it'll be a little better, etc. They're hoping to placate their constituents because they want to get reelected, like Mary Landrieu in Louisiana.
Well, look at the people in the Tea Party. They're doing people voted them in to do exactly what they're doing. So
and they are. That's the thing. They're
doing what their constituents are asking. So
they are a success because they have the Congress exactly where they want them. They refuse.
The Congress.
It's the country.
They forget it. No, they are doing what the constituents who voted them into the office wanted. I mean, you can't deny that. I'm not saying it's good or right, bad or good.
Well, I agree. What I'm saying is that that's why they refuse to budge.
No, because you said Democrats always vote with their conscience and their followers, and so does the Tea Party.
No, the Tea Party, like the Republicans, vote in a block. Okay, they always do. You very rarely see a Republican cross party lines and vote with the Democratic constituents, okay? They never do. I mean, what's wrong with extending unemployment for people who have gone 99 weeks, all right, without being able to find a job.
Well, the question is, where do we get all this money from? This is going to be what the Republicans say. We don't have the money to do all these.
And I'll tell you what I said before. For as long as I could remember, this country has never balanced its budget. Okay, maybe under Clinton, which is over 20 years ago, they actually had a balanced budget because Clinton and, believe it or not, Newt Gingrich managed to work together. As far as, even though they shut down the government back then, okay, they did manage to work together to pass, certain legislation that benefited everybody. Okay, that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, in this country.
But you cannot keep spending. I mean, that's pure economics. It's not going to happen.
Why not? They're printing the money. What's the difference?
Because
it becomes worthless.
No, money is becoming worthless, and we're borrowing from the Chinese. And if the Chinese call in their debt, we're going to be out of business.
Well, I want to call in an order of Chow Fun and General Chow's. That's what I want to call in.
You're laughing, but just think about it.
No, I'm not laughing.
The Chinese saying we want our money back.
No, they're not going to get it. And you know something? They're dependent upon us. Okay? And if we don't have the money to pay them, they're going to wind up, their economy is going to wind up in the sewer.
And so is ours.
Well, ours is going that way anyway.
Because we're borrowing too much.
The point that I'm making is, they complain about future generations having to pay this back. And what I'm trying to say is that after Clinton, we've never had a balanced budget. We've always borrowed. We've always extended the national debt, and the national debt only gets bigger.
Yeah.
In our lifetime, in our children's lifetime,
it
doesn't have to be right or wrong. This is what you do in order to produce jobs and get people back to work.
That's the wrong thing. That's the problem.
No, then how do you get people back to work?
Well, first thing, Mark, forget about that. How do you justify just spending money? Printing and making it. All that is inflation. It doesn't do anything. What you have to do is
Nobel economist Paul Krugman said the problem with the what was that? The problem with bailing out. I forgot what he called it. Well, he just said we didn't go far enough. What we should have done was go out on a limb. Okay. But Democrats and Republicans didn't want the debt to top $1 trillion. Okay, so they toned it down, and they didn't go far enough as far as being able to, make jobs for people.
Well, listen, countries like Iceland was in a worse situation than us. They bailed themselves out without buying off any banks or anybody else. And they were in much worse shape than we were. What we have to do is start, hate to say it, but cutting. We have so much waste in this country, so much duplication.
Okay, and you know where the Republicans want to start cutting? In the social programs. They want to cut Medicaid, they want to cut Social Security, they want to privatize it. They want to cut back on Medicare. Okay, they want people on a fixed income to pay more. And where's the money going to come from? Okay. Meanwhile, what you have is, you have a government where the very wealthy, like the Koch brothers and Addison or whatever his name is in Las Vegas, you got politicians running to kiss their ass, and these people are going to get
you got politicians kissing the ass of all the movie stars who have money.
They don't have the kind of money that these men have.
Sure they do.
No, they don't. These men are billionaires.
There are plenty of billionaires who are not.
Okay. I don't think so.
I don't know. You're on the air. Can I help you?
staff is calling.
You're on the air. Can I help you?
Did you get an email from Melissa Jazz earlier?
Hold on a second. I'm on the Matthew. You're on the air. We're broadcasting right now.
What's there?
Bye bye. That's one way to shut your son up.
Yeah, but
Say
that was
on
a
the
business.
air.
That was a business call.
I know, but still, I can't talk business when I'm riled up over here talking to you. Okay, where would you suggest the cuts? The cuts got to come. Every economist will tell you that. The cuts have to come. The cuts have to come from duplication of services.
Well, but that's why in his medical, health care plan, he wants things, Obama wants things on computerized so that if you go to a couple of different doctors, they're not asking you to take the same test. Okay, so there is no duplication, or they're not charging you for a test that you really don't have to take.
There is duplication. We got 3 separate bureaucracies running 3 different programs in the government. Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare. They don't work together, they work against each other. 3 completely different departments. Why? Makes no sense.
Well, where the Republicans want to make the
US
cuts.
Customs.
That's all I have to say.
Excuse me?
I said, where the Republicans want to make the
Doesn't matter.
cuts.
So where do the Democrats want to cut? Nowhere.
No, the Democrats would like to cut from the military bureaucracy. I mean, there's money for the development of tanks. What the hell do you need a tank for anymore? It's obsolete. Certain planes are obsolete already.
We're getting rid of most of our planes. We're going to a 1-plane fleet in the future. I forget what it's called. The Navy.
And you know
Army,
something? The bottom line is, and any increases in the military, is it going to pay soldiers' salaries or medical for the soldiers, which is what they and their families need? No. It's to bolster the military. Against what? Putin? He's not going to do anything. Believe me. And we're in no condition to go off like we do and be the world's policemen.
I'm not disagreeing that we have to cut a little bit of maybe in the military, but there's so many things. You've got U.S. Customs, you've got TSA, you've got Border Patrol. These are all people. These are all the same.
Well, but the Border Patrol, that's what the Republicans want. They want the borders secure so that nobody comes in here illegally.
I'm not arguing. That's what should be cut out. They should combine these departments. FBI, CIA, and how many other departments do they have?
Well, as far as this, look, the FBI handles internal problems within the country. The CIA is strictly foreign, okay? At least it's supposed to be. NSA, we all know what they do. They're listening to your conversation, okay?
And there are other departments, security departments. There's so much waste. If we cut out half the waste we had, we'd have a budget that's probably pretty close to being, even. But the problem that's going to happen is you do that, you're going to have people losing jobs. And nobody wants to lose jobs.
Well, according to the news report today, when they said the statistics came out, unemployment stayed at 6.7. The private sector has recouped all of the jobs, supposedly, that were lost at the beginning of the recession. That's what was said. Okay? The problem is that in the 5 years since 2009, that the economy has been, or actually 6 years, counting 2008, 2007. So you're talking about 7 years. More and more people have been laid off from their jobs. Their jobs have been outsourced, or they're no longer done here, so that's added to the number of unemployed. So that's why the number, instead of being at 4 point something, is at 6.7, and it doesn't budge.
Well, that's not good. But listen, if we cut, we're going to lose jobs. Cutting anything is going to hurt. And that's the problem. Nobody wants to take a hit. The military doesn't want to take. Social services don't want to take a hit. The IRS doesn't want to take a hit. They're all their own little bureaucracies, their own little countries, and nobody wants to take a hit. Think about it. What do we need such a large IRS department? There are really much simpler ways of collecting taxes, more efficient ways of collecting taxes, but that means you'd be laying off all these people who worked, in the IRS. It would be cheaper, Mark, if we shut down half these departments and keep these people on payroll till they retire. Okay, it would be cheaper than running some of these departments.
I'm not following you. What do you mean? Keep them on salary and have them not do anything?
You would do better than keeping these departments open.
Well, that's welfare already.
But it will eventually get rid of the problem. What we'll do now will never get rid of the problem. What do we need the IRS for? So we can have tax lawyers? All you need is like the rest of the world is doing, a VAT tax, a value-added tax. You tax every purchase there is. So that means the drug addicts are paying their fair share of taxes. Everybody's paying their fair share of taxes. You'll be paying your fair. There'll be no such thing as working off the books because everybody's going to be paying their taxes. There is no argument against it that I know of. And if anybody's got an argument against it, please let me know. Except that we're going to be eliminating a lot of jobs in the IRS.
Well, there is no solution to this right now, obviously. This is one of the things that we've been discussing, politics. Mm-hmm. Another thing would be religion. We've been discussing. I mean, these are the things that people basically were interested in.
These, we get the most response from the shows that have religion, news, politics. This seems to be, but not your typical everyday news or politics or religion. There's no praying done here when we talk religion. No,
we favor no one denomination over the other.
We're more of a, I guess, what would you call us? Interfaith type.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Then we talk about politics, but we don't give you news about politics so much. We give you opinions.
Yeah, well, they're all, when it comes to, when it comes to anything, it's always the opinion of us or the caller.
That's what we do. We're never reading news from a teleprompter or doing anything like that, because you can go to any news station, listen to the news.
No, the truth is we can't afford a teleprompter.
The truth is we wouldn't know what a teleprompter is if we saw it.
No, we know what it is. We just wouldn't be able to afford one.
Yeah.
And then what would we put on there?
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is there's no reason to listen to us if you want to hear the actual news, like one of the news stations. If you want to hear opinions, that may be wrong or right, but at least we want to provoke you.
Well, everybody's got an opinion. That much is true.
We're here to provoke you to think.
It's true. Felix and I get angry at each other like we did before, and we start raising our voices. But we're the best of friends. Basically, he just wants to raise my dander a little, and I want to raise his a little, and we want to.
You always have to show both sides. A one-sided opinion or conversation is not going to go anywhere. Then all you're doing is preaching, and we don't want any preaching.
But, one thing I left out was sports, and something very interesting happened this week. The Mets second baseman, I believe his name is Doug Murphy. Okay. he took 3 days off, or at least 2 days, Monday and, the opening day and the second day of the season, because his wife was having a baby, and it caused such an uproar amongst the sports pundits. Boomer Esiason and Mike Francesa said, his wife didn't have a natural birth, she had a cesarean, which meant that basically she was calling the date that the baby was going to be born. Why couldn't she make it before the season began so that he could be there to support his team for opening day, the opening game, okay? That's why it was so important, raising so much controversy. But, I understand that, except for one thing. You're talking about a man's family and the birth of his first child, okay? It's a real big deal.
It is.
Who are they to tell him or his wife, when she should have the baby delivered?
Exactly. Oh, the other thing in sports, today is the first game of the new pitcher for the Yankees, the $154 million Marvel.
Yeah, Tanaka. In fact, the game is going on as we speak.
There's nobody's getting paid. He has a $154 million contract, I think.
Yeah, over 7 years. A little over $20 million a year.
How about that, huh?
More than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Came from Japan. He had a 20-0 record last year, and now he's in the U.S. making mucho bucks. He's making more yen than he could ever yen for.
Buys a lot of rice. Buys a lot of sushi.
That's it.
He
could buy the expensive sushi now.
Speaking of sushi, did you hear the report that they've investigated some sushi was found to have worms crawling in it?
Do they charge extra for it?
No, that's free.
It's free. Okay.
It's like the old man in the restaurant. Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Well, you're not paying for it, are you?
No. What's he doing? Backstroke.
Speaking, and then you have Dunkin' Donuts. Did you see what went on at Dunkin' Donuts in Manhattan?
No.
A rat was crawling over the donuts. Somebody caught it on camera. They thought they saw it. They forced the place to close down. Man, you don't know what's going on in these places.
Poor rat is going to become a diabetic.
He probably is already. All he wanted was a cup of coffee, he says, they say the world runs on Dunkin'. Well, so does this rat, he just wants his shot of espresso,
That's it. Let's go back anyway. So, as I said, these are the things we talk about. And we wait for somebody to call. If nobody calls, which is pretty much the norm, because very few people actually listen to us live, and even less people actually call in. So we're actually we don't have to be a live podcast, but I think it's more fun being live, no matter what. And I don't really know why, but I guess we could say we're live, and nobody will know if we're live anyway.
No, we're pre-recorded.
Yeah, exactly. How would you know the difference?
Nobody really knows. Well, the only way you could know is if you
call in
or send in an email.
Or chat, where the chat room is open. Our phone number is 646-595-3275.
Felix, I can't believe this. We've been going on, and it's only been 35 minutes.
34 minutes and 18 seconds to be
I don't know. It seems like forever.
It is forever.
This show we may be lucky to make 45 minutes tonight, folks.
Oh, we'll make it. Now, remember that in the beginning of the show, I was going to read you some of our emails.
I'll leave that up to you.
So, the first email is from Joe from California. And what does he say? Who are you guys? Okay, I don't know. Does that mean he doesn't listen to us? Or does that mean
he might have found us by accident,
does he don't know who we are? Well, let's tell him who we are. Huh? You're Dr. Mark, an ex-school teacher, and
Jack of all trades and a master of none.
And I am
Felix,
Felix, and I am a.
you're in transportation.
I'm in transportation. I also.
You ship the marijuana from Mexico.
It doesn't matter what they ask before I ship it.
Actually,
I
you're
do nothing, but I ship.
you ship the poppy plants from Afghanistan, don't you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. NSA's listening. You can see the.
They're zooming in on you right now.
Yeah. You're going to see those, what are they called, those planes?
Edward Snowden is out to get you.
What do they call those planes? The ones that...
The drones?
Yeah, you're going to look out your window. You're going to see one right
now. It shows you where my mind was. I was actually thinking originally U-2 planes. Remember those from the 60s? But now, a little drone outside.
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, we've located those two guys. They're two little fat men sitting in an apartment broadcasting, Yeah, I don't see them being any threat.
Yeah, that's right. We're no threat at all. Get out of here. Okay, thank you, Joe. It's always nice to hear from Joe. Then,
I wish Joe would have told us what the heck's going on with, the even though he's in California, the talk about. There's a lot of talk lately about that fault line, and they say it's not a matter of if there's going to be it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
They say within the next 30 years, California is going to be out to sea, and Nevada is going to be beachfront property.
How about that?
Yeah.
Buy your property now. It's cheap.
That's right. Let me tell you.
Okay, let's go into our next email. I got to get my glasses on. Can't see this one. This one says, "Get off the air. I'm tired of listening to you." Signed, Dr. Mark.
Well, you weren't supposed to read that. That was just from me to you. It was like an inter-office memo.
Oh, is that what that was?
That's what that was, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. And this is from John, and he's from New York City somewhere, I guess, right here. And he says he likes all the bickering that we do. He thinks that's the best part of our show.
I would tend to agree with him. Hey, everybody's got an opinion, and everybody's entitled to voice his opinion or her opinion.
And by the way, he spelled bickering, but I think he meant bickering. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
So he failed. He didn't have spell check. What could I tell you?
Sorry, John. I think we only have one more right now.
Let's save it for later.
All right, we'll save it.
Maybe we'll get a few more in between.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here today. We've got. Why
don't you play our favorite? This one.
I just did my toilet flush.
Well, we never told them that you broadcast from the bathroom. That's not right.
There is no heaven. There is no hell. There is only this world.
This is the only guy who knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And we do not know in which of the two worlds we are.
That's a good query. Yeah. Which world are you in? I'm asking our listeners, which world are they in?
If
there's no heaven and no hell.
I threw out one of the emails that we had, but I'm going to mention it now because I don't know who it's from because I just deleted it. But they want to know what that meant.
Well, if there is no heaven and no hell and there's only the now, that means there's no afterlife. There's nothing to look forward to. You make the best of your
what is a shadow? Which world are you in?
The shadow is the unknown. But actually, who knows what evil lurks behind that door? The shadow knows.
Well, maybe
that's what it is. You know who played the shadow, don't you? I believe it was Alec Baldwin played the shadow. In a new version.
I think also probably what he's saying is there is a heaven and hell on earth, like a lot of people say there is, and the shadows people lurking in the shadows are the ones in hell, and they're trying to suck everybody else into the dark world.
You know who's lurking in the shadows? The NSA.
Oh, I'm telling you, we're going to see the drone first, you and the poppy seeds. Just remember, every conversation in the United States is being taped.
Oh, but according to the government now, they have no place to house all of this stuff, so they're sending it back now. You don't have to worry about it. They're not even going to bother with them anymore.
Yeah, well, listen, that's because some people in NSA said, we have nothing to do and we're going to get laid off, so they have to keep up the bureaucracy.
Oh, you know what I failed to mention? I believe it was last week. I don't think I gave the statistics. My daughter was in a 6K race, and in her age group, I guess it's 35 and up or something like that, there were 31 participants, and she came in at number 14, which meant that she was like in the upper 40% of the runners for her age. And there were 491 or something to that effect runners overall, and she came out at 297, which meant that if there were 500 and she was, let's say, she was like between 50 and 60% for her first race. So I think that's very commendable. I have to give her a shout out. Too bad we don't have anything that cheers, do we?
Do we have cheers?
Well, we have we could flush the toilet again, I guess. You know.
Wait a second, we got better than.
Oh, please don't do Austin Powers. Whatever you do.
Oh, we're doing better than that.
Oh, excuse me. She was 197, which meant she was also 2/5, which is also 40 percentile. Very good. Oh, boy, I'm proud of her. I can't even walk that fast.
I was going to say, Mark, if we enter in our age group, we'd win.
Well, we'd still be running. Are you kidding? Or walking or crawling. I mean, that's only a week later. Yeah, give us a break, And I might add, she did that in the pouring rain. Talk about being crazy. But anyway, okay, now that I've done my fatherly duty and given my daughter a shout out, which she deservedly so, let's get back to our show about nothing, because I think both of us are sort of running out of things to say.
No, we got to get in.
I mean, you have more to say?
Well, we got to discuss the other topics we normally discuss. We discuss sports sometimes.
Well, like I said, this week the one thing to discuss was, Doug Murphy and he and his wife's decision, saying basically screw it, I mean, how often do I get to see a baby being born? And I agree with him, I mean, yes, I know he's paid a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, what's opening day? First of all, so he didn't open in Citi Field. I mean, it really doesn't make a difference.
No, you're right. And but what my point was with our news, when it comes to sports, I don't think we devoted 2 shows to sports. I think, and there were 2 busts. Don't think we should be devoting any time to sports.
Well, I agree. One of the shows was, about college athletes unionizing and being paid.
One was worse than the other, so I don't know.
Oh, talk about something new. President Bush. I finally found something that I agree with him on. He has taken up painting.
Really?
And in the Bush Library, in his one-room library, because that's about all, as far as his personal papers are concerned, I don't think it fills more than one room. The bottom line is he is exhibiting portraits of world leaders and landscaping, and he did the family dog, and he did a self-portrait. I must tell you, I saw some of it on the news.
They were
really good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if it was me, you would see stick figures, and I'm serious about that.
No, I know. He really looked good.
And he said it relaxes him. I've never seen the man look so good. You know, well, let's face it, you know, you're out of politics. There's no more pressure.
Yeah,
I wish somebody by the name of Dick Cheney would learn that lesson and keep his mouth shut. You know, he's, you know, and you got to give Bush a lot of credit. He said there are enough people criticizing. You know, he doesn't have to add any other comments that people have you know, already said. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I really do.
I don't know. What is this? I'm reading some news topics, and they're really pretty boring. They're having elections, I guess.
Yes, in Afghanistan, I know.
And that's one of the reasons why there was murders, I guess. Let's see.
Oh, you know, one of the reasons that the Fort Hood shooter was upset was because the Army only granted him 1 day off to attend his mother's funeral. I remember hearing that on the news. You know, they also said he was an underachiever. I mean, think about it. At 19, he joined the National Guard in Puerto Rico. He's now 34 years old, and all he is a specialist. Okay? I mean, in 15 years, he has not, you know, been promoted all that much.
Well, you know, the 3 people that he killed were all sergeants.
I know, a master sergeant, or a first sergeant, a staff sergeant, and a regular sergeant. You know, an E3. No, an E5.
I think 2 of them were E5s. I'm not sure.
No, one was a staff, which would make him an E6.
And the other 2 E5s.
And the other 2 were first sergeants.
No.
Or master sergeants.
I believe you're wrong. But, you know, he was just below them, you know, below the E5. That's your next step.
No, I know. You know, there used to be a rank, I remember, when we were in the service. A Spec 5 was like a sergeant.
Yeah, same thing.
In a certain, you know, if you were a Spec 5 in, let's say, communications or computers, that was like being a sergeant in the infantry or something. The pay grade was the same.
Right. Well, I mean, when I was in National Guards, I made sergeant in 2 years in the National Guards. And I was acting sergeant after a year. So, I mean,
when did you go away for your basic? Was it within that first year?
Yeah, 71, yeah. After about 6 months, I was already promoted once. Well, before I was ever...
I was a recruit the longest in my unit. I was there for 18 months before they sent me to basic training. I think they forgot about me.
18 months?
18 months I was a recruit.
What year was this?
70, 71.
And I was in 71, so you were just a year behind me. I mean, they were calling in a lot of people then.
You know, originally, you know what my MOS was? It's really funny. My MOS was a bath unit. You know what that was? When the guys come out of the field, you spray them down with disinfectant in case they have any bugs on them, you know?
Okay.
They're supposed to strip down, and I'm supposed to spray them. Although I was promised when I came back I'd be a company clerk because of my ability to keep records and type, etc. And I was going to get promoted no matter what I was in basic. I was going to be promoted to sergeant.
Yeah.
But when I was down there at basic, they wanted to make me an officer.
So it would have been Captain Mark instead of Dr. Mark.
Yeah, very true.
Well, listen, it's bad enough you're a doctor. We don't need you as a captain, that's for sure.
Well, that's true, too. Listen, I am going to make more coffee. I just ran out of coffee. So would you. So that's part of my duties, ladies and gentlemen. So I am taking a little bit of a leave here, and I'm going to leave the microphone up to Felix.
And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn it off. Go to sleep, ladies and gentlemen, for 3 minutes or so, and then come back, and we'll be back on. There's nothing really much for me to talk about, and I don't know if you know, though, talking about things of not much value, Taco Bell is now going to start serving breakfast. They're going to compete with the rest of the other fast food chains because it's a very big part of the market and they want to get involved in it. Let's see, we're going to go and, one of the things we don't talk about anymore, and a while back when we first started, we had we thought we formed something that was ingenious, and we formed what we called, just before elections, the coffee party, and we started promoting it, getting, we had some guests coming in, we had a local politician come in and tell his story, and was moving along pretty nicely until, I guess, a month or two ago, maybe 3, I don't remember. We found that there's been actually a coffee party in existence for about, I guess 4 years now, formed around 2010. And so we really stopped talking about it because it's not our part. But one of our theme song was, people have the power. We used to play that all the time, and it was a big part of our show. And that's sort of gone, but I thought I'd play that again because I want to remind everybody, which is something very important with the upcoming elections, people do have the power. The power is in the people, and we tell we the voters tell the politicians what to do. They don't tell us what to do, even though it doesn't seem to work that way. That's the way it's supposed to work. We're supposed to be voting in who represents our beliefs and thoughts, and we're not supposed to be voting in people who are going to tell us what to believe and think. And we definitely don't approve of most of the Congress, but yet every year, for as long as they'll be keeping these statistics, 90% of the Congress, in all elections, 90% of the people who were in office were reelected if they were running. And the approval rate is only about 10% of all these people of the Congress. So I don't understand how we do that. Why do we keep voting the same people in, even if we don't approve of them? If somebody can explain to me, I'd love to hear. Because I don't know. I mean, in other countries, in other democracies, they'll vote out the whole government and put a new government when they're not happy. And when you're running for a president, vice president, the president will be the person that wins the election, and the guy that lost it will become the vice president. So it really represents all of the people. We always only represent half the people.
Well, that's how it was back when Washington ran. The man who came in first was president, and the runner-up was the vice president.
I mean, that I think is much better, because at least And I say, at least, everybody's represented then. Now only 51% of the people, or 50%, are ever really represented by the president because they're only voted in by half the people in the country.
Well, the people, we've said this before, the people who don't vote have no right to complain. I mean, that's your God-given right. Americans have died throughout history protecting your right to vote. But then again, look at the Republicans demanding that you show photo ID in order to vote. And then they make it so difficult for you to get photo ID.
I mean, I don't know. New York State, I don't think it's very hard to get a photo ID. And I'm a firm believer that everybody should have a photo ID. I don't see the harm in it.
What about the elderly who no longer drive? They don't have a driver's license. However, if somebody takes them down to the Motor Vehicle Bureau, as our kids did, before they turned 17 and got their licenses, they had a photo ID, which was not a license, but the Motor Vehicle Bureau would take their picture and it would say, this is not a license, but it tells who you are.
Exactly. I'm saying it's not hard to get an ID in the United States.
Not if, if you're elderly and you don't drive and you don't have anybody who could take you down to these places to get a picture taken.
Then how are you going to get down to vote?
What about people in nursing homes?
How do they vote?
They have to be able to read the ballot.
I would assume that most people in nursing homes don't vote. Because most people in nursing homes are not competent enough to vote.
Not true. My father was certainly competent enough. There wasn't anything wrong with his mind. It was physically his body.
I didn't say all. I said most. If you go to a typical nursing home, you see all the people just sitting there with their heads down, have no clue what's going on, and they all screaming they want to go home.
I know I've said this before. I used to ask my dad when I would visit him, why don't you eat in the dining room? Because he would take all his meals in the room. And he said, because half the people in the dining room have to be fed and the other half don't know what they're eating. So basically what he's trying to say is, can't carry on a conversation with some of them, so I might as well just watch my news on television or my Yankee game and keep to myself.
Exactly my point. Most of the people who are there can't vote anyway. They wouldn't know what to do. And a few that can and they want them, sure, arrangements could be made for them to get the pictures.
Yeah, but you know what they do in our district? When they're voting for their school budget, they make sure that the elderly are bussed in because they always vote no on all the school contracts, and budgets, because they obviously don't have any children going to school. And that's why in many districts, school budgets are voted down.
We can get a census in the United States every 10 years. Was it every 10 years?
Right, yes.
And count just about every person in the country, supposedly. There's no reason at the same time we can't take a picture of every person in the country and have photo IDs. But again, I think they should, but it's not a big deal to me either way. But, if you want to be responsible enough to go out and vote, I think you should be responsible enough to be able to have an ID. But it should be also made easy for you to get it, obviously.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you, Felix, we're coming on to an hour that we've been on the air.
The magic hour, and we have no callers.
So
this show's really not made to last longer than an hour if there are no callers. So.
Right. So I'm thinking maybe we should just wish everybody a good weekend and think about what we said, ladies and gentlemen. You know, our numbers are like a yo-yo. Today was certainly everybody's chance to send an email, except for the people who did, and tell us what's wrong, how could we make it better. You know, we want to have shows that you're interested in, but, you know, like I said before, if it's just Felix and I, and he just said, I mean, the show really can't last longer than an hour if we don't have somebody to talk to.
Exactly, but I did tell you there was one email left that you told me to hold it to the end or to later on. So
No, I don't even know if it pays to...
I'm gonna read it. It's the last one we got here. It says, Dr. Mark, I think you have a very, very sexy voice. Are you married?
Well, we could discuss it.
Signed, Joe.
Well, Joe, I thought we had Joe before. Is this another Joe?
No, Josephine.
Wait, is this Josephine or?
Josephine, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine with me.
She signed the Joe, then underneath she put that Josephine.
Okay, yeah, and knowing you would say Joe, just to keep me guessing. I think we can discuss it. I think we can come to some arrangement. You know, I'll when we go off the air, I'll send you my private line, and we'll see where this takes us.
Okay, well, we do have Joe's email or Josephine's email. We can definitely answer her email, and we'll see if this romance.
We'll have to report on it in the future.
Yeah. I think before we go any further, I'd really like to know what Josephine's birthday is.
Well, that's up to her to, you know, send us another email, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen.
Josephine, to me, sounds like she should be not a very young woman, but a rather...
Well, I mean, somebody my age or a little bit younger would be fine. I mean, I know there were plenty of Josephines, you know, in their late 50s, early 60s, or a little bit older than, maybe even a little older than me. You know, maybe she's into robbing the cradle, and, you know, I'm a few years younger than her. Who knows?
You never know. That's right. Anyway, it was nice having everybody listening to us again tonight. Again, this is the Coffee Club. We thank our audience for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. And this is Mark and Felix.
Signing off.
Good night.